Celebrations across Syria and worldwide, really, to the culmination of 2 seismic weeks in the country. After a lightning offensive that lasted just 12 days, Syrian rebels took control of the capital of Damascus, resulting in the fall of Bashar al-Assad. Though his exact whereabouts remain unknown, the Kremlin confirmed that he has left the country. That's a blow then not only to him, but to his 2 only allies, that was Russia and Iran. This has all allowed the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham group then to hail the start of, I quote, a new era for Syria. Thank you for joining us here on France 24. I'm Erin Ogunkeye. You are watching a special edition on the fall of Bashar al-Assad. Now, it is, of course, a development that few, if any, saw coming at this moment and so quickly. In a lightning advance, Syrian rebels pummeled through government-held territory, taking one major city after another. First Aleppo, and then Hama and Homs. There was no turning back after the rebels, though, surrounded and entered the capital of Damascus between Saturday and Sunday, officially bringing an end not only to Bashar al-Assad's 24-year rule, including during the 13 years of the civil war, but also to over 5 decades of Ba'ath Party leadership in Syria. Now, for more, Radwan Ziadeh joins us on the program. He is the executive director of the Syrian Center for Political and Strategic Studies and the senior fellow for the Arab Center in Washington, D.C., as well as the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this, of course, happened so quickly. Were there signs of what was to come prior to November 27th when the rebels began their advance?
No, at all. Even it was a surprise to the Syrians themselves. But we should not forget that it's been 13 years of Syrian revolution since March 2011. And the Syrians, they paid the ultimate sacrifice in every town, in every city. But I think the Syrian opposition, armed opposition, or what they call now Tahrir al-Sham, HCS, and other groups, they read actually the geopolitical change in the area and on the international stage very smart. They know that the regime relied heavily on the Iranian militias and on Russia providing the air force. And now with the Russia occupied in Ukraine and Iran got weakened because of the fight between Hezbollah and Israel, this is the right moment to capture the Syrian regime, who's it's actually a dead man. And this is why the fall of the regime, the free fall of the regime from the north back to the south. Yesterday is even surprised how the capital did not last even a few hours. The capital fall down before the city of Homs, where the rebels and the armed opposition, they're surrounding and they're having the last military fight there.
Now, the Syrian civil war, sir, had, of course, become a proxy battlefield for competing regional and international powers. Do you see a happy ending coming out of this with so many different stakeholders involved?
That's up to the Syrians. The Syrian, it's been the land of the war of others on the Syrian land. We have to put an end to that. There is a military basis of if Russia, United States, and almost every major power and regional power in the country. And now we have to end of that. Returning to the Syrian sovereignty on the land and on the sky only depends on the Syrians. And I believe that as a Syrian, as you mentioned correctly, this rule, the Assad rule, is not about 13 years. It's since 1970. The Assad senior and the Assad junior, it's almost 54 years. It's not an easy. It's a historical moment to Syria, to the region, and to the world. And I believe we'll be able to build a better Syria, Syria for all. Syria have good relationship with all neighbors and good relationship with the international community, but it needs some time. It's not an easy fix. With all that, the Syrian regime left Syria in ruin in the economy and in everything. Now we have to put an end on that. And I'm sure that the Syrian who made the miracle of overthrowing this Assad regime, they will do the miracle again in building Syria.
Now, we're seeing pictures, sir, of a much more confident-looking Bashar al-Assad. Obviously, those are archival images. As we've been reporting, we've not yet received any information about where he is exactly. But what do you think the future holds for Bashar al-Assad and more generally for his soldiers and for his supporters who do remain in Syria?
We don't know where is the Bashar Assad himself. I think Reuters reported that he take the airplanes from his palace, and today the current prime minister he confirmed that he talked to him yesterday night. It was the final call, and then he said actually Bashar al-Assad said to the prime minister that I will take my decision tomorrow morning, which means today morning he took the flight at 4 o'clock, and nobody knows exactly. Reuters said maybe there is a crash on his airplanes in Latakia or in Misyaf. This area is very complicated. But anyway, I think it's the era of Bashar al-Assad is ended in Syria, and there is no return back. For all his followers and supporters, we don't know if there is still any resistance from their side. But from the videos we coming from the coastal part of Syria, Tartus and Latakia, I don't see any signs of that.
Bashar al-Assad and his predecessor father, Hafiz al-Assad, as you mentioned earlier, sir, were known for being some of the most brutal dictators in the region, really. Can you just take us through what life looked like under their regime, especially for civilians, for political prisoners?
Yes, exactly. I just want you actually to point out to the political prisoners. The main course of the Syrians in the last 24 hours just to reach the thousands of political prisoners. We saw horrific videos of women, of children, 2 or 3 years old in prison in Naya. And still today, still now, after all what's happened, we cannot open the doors of these prisons because under secret code and in all of that. And as been working on Syria for almost 30 years, I shocked of some information today about secret prisons in Damascus and in other areas. I never imagined that there is a secret prisons that I think we still have less than 24 hours and more coming. But this is a brutal regime, ruthless regime, in not dealing with his opponent, but also with the dealing with every Syrian citizen who say, or maybe with some of the secret reports, can oppose the regime. This is an end. And I think every Syrian now, they feel the freedom. They feel actually a new era is coming. They feel that the future is better than the past. And this is my message to the international community. This is the right time to help the Syrians to overcome those 50 years of the dictatorship. Syria, as I said, it's a ruined country. It needs a lot of help. And the importance of the international community to help the Syrian people in this critical time.
People worldwide, of course, Radwan Ziadeh, are hoping that optimism will end up being justified. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.